Hopefully we record it. So far, a few new insights. But the reality of it is that just this information that we talked about is not public information. Bezrat Hashem will become public. Just this is already enough to know that it's a big deal to waste seed. We got the hint so far. Why is it such a big deal? The holy books tell us that Hashem made the Torah a part of Him. Meaning that every letter in the Hebrew alphabet that's in the Torah, which is 22 letters, is actually Shem Hashem. It's actually the name of Hashem. Each letter is a name of Hashem. When you read the Torah, that's the reason why each letter is considered a mitzvah. But then Chazal adds to it, he says, it's not only Hashem and the Torah one, but the Jewish nation is also part of Him. How do we see this? You spell the word Yehudi, Jew, in Hebrew. It's Yud, Hey, Vav, Dalet, Yud. Right? But if you see the Dalet, looks like a Resh, it also looks like half of the Hey. If you take the last Yud, and you put it under the Dalet, it looks very, very similar to Hashem's name. Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. I drew it. I'm not exactly the best artist, but I drew it before the Shiur, and you can see the point. Hashem put His name inside you. What's another source? Scientific source. In 1983, Dr. Rubinstein arrived to Israel, I believe from Venezuela, and worked for the university in molecular biology. But his main job was to investigate the DNA of different species, DNA of sharks, DNA of monkeys, DNA of rats, humans, and so on. In 1986, he made a major discovery. He saw that there's one major thing that's the same exact thing in the DNA of everything. Now, every DNA, in essence, looks similar. Whether it's a DNA of a shark, or a DNA of a human being, or a DNA of a rat. They have the same basic foundation. Anyone that's ever seen a visual of a DNA, HaBa, it's these two squiggly lines with some lines across them. So we asked the computer, what happens if I take the two squiggly lines and I break them apart? These two squiggly lines are tied together. What if I just separate them? And after enough analysis, the computer responds, the subject will explode. Meaning you cannot exist if there's only one line. It has to stay connected. Okay, so that means to stay connected is important. What's the next question, logically? What's keeping it connected? Computer answers, every so often, meaning every several acids, ACTG it's called, there's a bridge connecting the two lines. Thank you. There's a bridge connecting the two lines, two squiggly lines, made of sulfur. Sulfur. Go to Yam HaMelech, go to the Dead Sea, bunch of sulfur over there. Same type of chemical. Okay, fine. Bridges is important. We can't break the bridge. But there's another question here. The computer said every so often. Is there some type of, is it random? Or is there a design? Where there's an actual calculation, it's not every so often, there's an actual method here. The computer says yes. Every DNA has the same bridge and has the same calculation. The calculation is every 10th acid, and after that it's every 5th acid, and after that it's every 6th, and then 5. 10, 5, 6, 5. 10, 5, 6, 5. Anyone that knows Gematria knows that 10 is Yud, 5 is Hey, 6 is Vav, and 5 again is Hey. Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. Hashem's name is written inside your DNA. When you waste seed, this is the reason why people have emunah problems. So Chazal is telling us many, many things about wasting seed. And these are some of the things that people need to understand. Rabbi Nachman from Breslev says, when someone wastes seed, it's very easy for them to become an idol worshiper. Very easy for them to not only lose their emunah, but completely become a complete heretic. Reason? They're destroying both their physical and spiritual brain. Spiritual brain, we could understand what it means. But physical, it's hard to understand. You need to know science. So just so you know, part of the seed that comes out, the semen that comes out of your body, part of it comes from your brain. Now, there was a book that's not very popular. It was written about 190 years ago by a doctor that was also a rabbi in Germany named Rav Avraham Stern from Berlin. The book is called Mazor Utrufa. 64 dapim, which is 128 pages in today's world. And he did scientific research, medical research, not just his own, but many, many doctors about wasting seed and whether it helps you, like psychologists foolishly say today, or it destroys you. And he has case after case after case after case of all the diseases that wasting seed leads to. Now he also starts the book, which is very scary, by the way. I'll give you some examples in a little bit. But he also says in the book, uses a Rambam, says that the seed of a male is the tamtzit, which is in essence the what's tamtzit in English? Like the thing that you make the juice from. What is it called? Like, no, not the pulp. Like artificial juice. The liquid, the flavoring in essence. It's the foundation, the concentrate, the foundation of the juice. Like for example, the Coca-Cola.
Like the syrup.
Yeah, the syrup, exactly. It's the foundation. You can't make the juice. It's the foundation of it. It says that the seed is the foundation of the entire male body. And Rambam says that the only reason why Hashem created us with a body is for us to be able to use our seed for purbu. For us to be able to bring children to the world. Otherwise, there's no purpose for our body. Otherwise, we just remain souls. Which in essence, the foundational reason of why we exist as human beings with a body is for the seed, is to use the seed. But not to use the seed and waste it, but to use it to bring children to the world. How do we know? When a woman gets pregnant, she has a child, Baruch Hashem, like this cute one in the back. And after she gives birth, many women choose to breastfeed. Maybe men don't know this, but during the time, at least not the single ones, during the time that a woman breastfeeds, the woman most of the time does not have a period. So if she breastfeeds for a year or 2 years, she doesn't have a period for a year or 2 years. This is in the vast majority of cases. Why? Because the milk is actually blood. It used to be blood. Everything you eat, whether it's an orange, or it's a steak, or it's a candy, everything, some part of it turns into blood. The other part of it that's not turned into blood goes out of your body. This very same blood is what you use to live. For a woman, it's what turns into milk for breastfeeding. Now, why is it, if you take a liter of breast milk out of a woman, in many cases she actually feels better, not worse. She feels better. It's a relief. But chas v'shalom, you take a liter of blood out of her body, she may not survive. If the two things are the same, how could this be? Because the breast milk also has a few other things that were added to the body, added to the blood, to make it breast milk. But the Rambam says, and actually in Rav Stern says, the seed of a male is even superior to blood. Just like the blood is the basic syrup for the milk, you can't have you can't have the milk without the blood. You can't have the blood without the seed for a male. The seed of a male is superior to his blood. It's the foundation of his entire body, which means that when he wastes it, he's slowly killing himself. And this is why the rest of his book is dedicated to subjects, one after another, real-life subjects, not only from him, but from many, many doctors that show exactly what happens to anywhere from teenagers at the age of 15, one teenager that was 15 years old, wasted seed for 8 years, and slowly but surely killed himself. But he didn't just kill himself one day, he just appeared and died. Said hello, and the next thing he died. He didn't get a heart attack, but his body slowly deteriorated, became much, much weaker, all the way to the point of starting to bleed in strange places. His hand turned into rubber, very rubbery, very weak. His bones started disintegrating. There was strange, awful smelling liquid coming out of his spine, which is another part of where the seed travels through, until he died. This is just the first subject, the best case scenario. The other ones got much worse. One of the other patients, as we said, the seed comes from the brain. So slowly but surely it's destroying the brain. One of the other subjects, you could noticeably see that the veins on his brain are coming out of his head. And you can see this today in some people. One day they look healthy, you don't see them for 5-6 years, and all of a sudden, the guy looks a little weird. A little bit like a mutant. So much so that Chazal says, not Chazal, the best doctors in the world at that time said that of 1,000 people that die, one dies from natural causes, and the other 999 die from overusing their seed. That's how much. But where do we have proof of this in the Torah? Does anybody know who the smartest man of all time was? Shlomo Melech. Shlomo Melech. Listen, it's a recent smart guy. He's a Jew too. Shlomo Melech gave us some insight. soon as I find it. Okay. Shlomo Melech was gifted wisdom beyond any man that ever lived before or after. So he knew what he was doing. He was also very rich. He was also married to 1,000 women. And he gave us a little bit of insight. In Proverbs 31, verse 3, it says, Al titen lanashim chelecha, udrachecha limchot melachim. Give not your strength to women, and let your conduct not destroy the protocol of kings. Here Chazal explained to us, he says, do not give your strength to women. What's your strength? What's your koach? Or chelecha. Your koach is your seed. The entire strength of a man is from his sperm. This is why also the athletes like to inject testosterone into their body, so they can become stronger. Or when you have a ill patient that's suffering some serious disease, sometimes they'll put steroids in them. But Shlomo Melech is telling you that if you give all of your strength to this ta'ava, to this desire of women, to this desire of wasting your seed, you're going to destroy yourself. But if you need a little bit more details, he said it in another place also. In also Proverbs 25, verse 16. Dvash matzata, echol dayeka, pentis ba'enu ve'ekiato. Translation, when you find honey, eat what is sufficient for you, lest you be satiated and vomited up. Chazal says that dvash, honey, is really referring to women, isha. Why isha? Has the same numerical value. Isha has numerical value, the gematria of 306, and so does dvash. So when you find a woman, be a normal person. If you spend all of your seed every other day to a new woman, or perhaps do it even without a woman, he's telling you something here. He's not telling you about dvash. He's not telling you, don't need Shlomo Melech to tell you, now don't eat too much honey, because eventually you're going to throw up. That's not exactly wisdom of the smartest man of all time. He's telling you something here. If you find honey, if you find a woman, take it easy. Don't have just enough. Why? Because if you have too much, you're eventually going to vomit. What does it mean you're eventually going to vomit? You're going to eventually not be able to handle it. It's going to destroy your life to such an extent that even after you married someone and became a normal person, you don't have a new girl every other day, you're going to suffer in your marriage too. Your wife is a normal person. She's not like you and like what you used to be. You have to be able to control yourself. But not only that, sometimes you see that there's shlom bayit issues. Sometimes it's a religious couple, sometimes it's a non-religious couple. You see, they both seem normal, they both seem rational, but the wife is always angry at the husband. Later on, many times you find out that the husband wastes seed on his own. Not with another woman, chas v'shalom, but on his own. Why is the wife angry? Because even though she herself doesn't know, her neshama does know. Her neshama does know that he's giving his seed to another woman, specifically the Satan's wife. Neshama is not very happy with you. It's a problem. In the Gemara Masechet Sukkah, page 42b, Rabbi Yochanan says, Ever katan yesh le'adam, mariv'o savea, masbi'o ra'ev. Rabbi Yochanan says, a man has a small organ. The one that starves it is satiated, meaning he's full, and the one that feeds it stays hungry. It's supposed to be the opposite. If you feed it, it's supposed to be satiated, full. If you starve it, it's supposed to be hungry. Chazal says no. Someone says, no, listen, I'm not going to be like I used to be when I was a teenager, doing it 3 times a day, 5 times a day. No, just once in a while. I'll do it once a week. Chazal says it's impossible. A man has a small organ. If he feeds it, meaning he wastes seed, it'll never be full. If he starves it, it'll be full. Meaning, you won't need to. You won't feel the desire anymore eventually. Eventually, when he stops, after the Yetzer Hara gets weaker and weaker, you won't have the desire anymore. Obviously with his wife, but as far as wasting it and making the toilet another wife, it's not going to happen anymore. This is what Chazal tells you. So much so that they had to repeat it again. In Masechet Sanhedrin. So the same thing again. Ever katan yesh la'adam, marivo savea masbi'o ra'ev. Man has a small organ. The one that starves it is satiated. The ones that feed it is hungry forever. So why would they repeat it? What, the Gemara has nothing else to do with their life? No. In Masechet Sanhedrin, page 104a, Chazal says it's alacha. Meaning, it cannot change. Ever. Alacha is eternal. Can't change. Anything that's added today is building on the existing halachot. You can never change an halacha. Because halacha comes from Moshe from Al Sinai. This is a law of nature. There's no such thing as doing it once in a while. You feed the organ, it'll never stop. And slowly but surely, a man is wasting his power and killing himself. Now what else does Chazal say about this? The Gemara also says that each time a man makes a mitzvah, this is actually also in the Mishnah, each time a man makes a mitzvah, he buys himself a defending attorney, creates himself an angel that's going to help him in this world and the next. That's why mitzvah goreret mitzvah. One mitzvah leads to another. You have one mitzvah, all of a sudden you have a little bit more power and you feel like doing another mitzvah. Person makes an avera, makes a sin, creates a demon, his own personal demon. Demon gives power more to the world of Tumah. What does the world of Tumah do? Influences the person to make more sins. That's why it says also, Avera goreret avera. One sin leads to another. This is why, Shemerchem, sometimes you see somebody that was frum a month ago, made one small sin, went with some girl and he's not married. Violated Shabbat. Smoked a cigarette on Shabbat. Okay, you didn't drive, you smoked a cigarette. A month later, the guy's eating bacon on Yom Kippur. Why? Avera goreret avera. One sin influenced to do another sin. Another sin, another sin, another sin. Next thing you know, he's a complete idol worshiper. But it's due to his own actions. It's not due to anybody else. Each time a person creates this sin, he creates also a klipa. He creates a shell around him, which makes it very, very difficult for him to listen to Torah. It makes it very, very difficult for him to read Torah. Why? Because Torah is pure. It's the purpose of this world. Without Torah, there's no purpose of this world. Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah says, the angels were very, very scared at Mount Sinai before Am Yisrael showed up. Why? Why would you be scared? It's the ultimate day of the world. Gemara says because all of the other nations rejected the Torah. And they knew that if Am Yisrael rejects the Torah, Hashem will bring back the world to tohu vavohu. Brings back the world to nothing. The same thing that it was before we created it. So now each time someone wants to learn this holy Torah and bring purity into his life, but he has a shell surrounding him. The shell is blocking it, which is the reason, for example, when I first started doing TeShuva, I went to a Shiur Torah of a very famous Rav, a very big Chacham. I would wait for the Shiur the whole week. Usually I don't really sleep much at night. So, being awake was never really a problem for me. I go to the Shiur after work, all alert, excited, pumped up to hear something new, work my brain muscles, use the Hebrew language for the first time in 15 or 20 years. 5 minutes into it, snoring. Out. Can't survive 5 minutes. Okay, I said, okay, this happened once. Next week I'll do better. Maybe I really was tired and I didn't know. A week later, 5 minutes, 3 seconds. Nothing changed. This is getting upsetting. I wait the whole week. I wanted to shiur. Next week, got to 6 minutes. Next week, 10 minutes. Can still never stay to an hour and a half shiur. Can't survive. Sometimes somebody can't survive, they fall asleep. Sometimes they can't sit. They have to go somewhere. They have to smoke a cigarette. They have to go call their friends. They have to do something. They can't listen to Torah. Why? Because the shell, the klipa, is so thick that when the purity is trying to go through, you're spending all of the energy you have left just to get it in. By the time it finally a little bit got in, you're completely tired, you fall asleep. But with enough training, with enough effort, you start peeling off the klipa. Start peeling off the shell. Eventually it becomes 15 minutes, half hour, an hour. Eventually, Be'ezrat Hashem, one day you could speak for 5 hours about it. Takes time, takes effort. You can't give up. This is one of the main things that people need to understand, is that there's always TeShuva. As long as you're alive, there's TeShuva. As long as the light still works, there's TeShuva. Even in the Mishnah, Avot, that says that the one that causes other people to sin has a much bigger difficulty doing TeShuva, even his gate, even his ability to do TeShuva is still possible. It just doesn't have as much siyata d'ishmaya, doesn't have as much help from Shamayim. Normal person does TeShuva in his 20s, could have 90% help from Hashem, 90% siyata d'ishmaya. Someone that's in the same age but has a whole website against rabbis, he wants to do TeShuva, he may have 10%. Same age, same situation, same school, same look, same everything else. He went against rabbis, went against the Torah, was a heretic publicly, machtia rabim, could have less siyata d'ishmaya. But he could still do TeShuva. You have a question?
I say also, the Olam says that person can get to a point of his life where all the gates of repentance close in front of him, no? Where you can still do TeShuva.
You can always do TeShuva as long as you're alive, and the source is Menashe. Menashe was a Rasha Merusha that even killed his own grandfather Isaiah, the prophet. He cut him into pieces, chopped him up. chopped up his own grandfather, the prophet, Kadosh. Not only that, there wasn't enough. He erased the name of Hashem everywhere he can find. Anywhere he saw Hashem's name, he erases it. Wasn't enough. Put idol worship everywhere. Not enough. Raped his own sister. Incest. Zera levatala. When he was ready to do TeShuva, Hashem accepted him. This we find out from Masechet Sanhedrin 107b. So now you know that TeShuva is available. But as we started this Shiur, although some of the things you may have heard were scary, it's not scary enough. When Hashem created man, we started sinning pretty quickly. Eventually you fast forward to the generation of Noach, and the average person was a Rasha Merusha. Chazal says that the major sin, even though the last straw was stealing, the major sin of the generation was wasting seed. Which is the reason that after the Mabul, after the flood, Hashem gave Noach 7 laws. First 6 he gave to Adam HaRishon, he added 1 to Noach, which is the reason why it's called Sheva Mitzvot Bnei Noach, because he was the last one to get it, so it's named after him. One of these laws is do not spill blood. Most of us understand it as do not murder. That's the pshat. Wasting seed is also murder. According to scientists, each and every single seed, each one, has all of the things you need to make a human being. Obviously, when they connect with an egg. The woman's egg, not an egg and chicken egg. I have to make you laugh a little bit to get you out. Don't want you to get too depressed. I hear this stuff, I almost want to cry. Because I know so many people are in this zevel, in this garbage. They have no idea that they're in garbage. You know, a rat doesn't know that he's eating garbage. He thinks it's Gan Eden. He thinks it's a hotel, 5-star hotel. Why? Because he's part of the garbage. When you're part of the garbage, you don't know that it's garbage. Only when you leave the garbage for a little while, you're like, what's going on? Oh, yeah, it's garbage. So many people are in this garbage. I was too. It wasn't different. Now, most of us understand do not spill blood as do not murder. But scientists is telling us that each and every seed is technically has all the things that we need to make a human being. Each and every single one of them is a potential soul that's supposed to come to the world. If this seed has a problem with it, it may either not become a soul, or it can become a problematic person, someone that's born with diseases, chas v'shalom. There's more than enough diseases in the world that we know that disease exists. The word machala, which is disease, has the numerical value of 83. That's in the Gemara, Bava Metzia, I think. What's the significance of 83? Hashem says there's 83 different types of diseases that He brought on Mitzrayim. But Chazal is also telling us something else. Not only is each seed potential soul, But eventually you're going to learn that you're going to see that how much of murder it really is to waste one seed. You fast forward to recent generation, and scientists said that each time seed comes out of the human body, it's approximately 300 million seeds. Which means that each time you waste seed, you're murdering approximately 300 million people. You're murdering America each time. You're destroying a country each time. Murdering one person, it's no big deal. It's just one guy. Still, 299,999,999. It's not a big deal. You murder the whole 300, it starts becoming a big deal. You do it 3 times a day, you murdered India. You do it 5, you got to China. By the end of the week, you murdered an entire world. Show up to Olam HaBa like that. Show up to the Beit Din of Shamayim. Each week I murdered the world. Good luck. Oh, by kept Shabbat. Good for you. We'll turn off the fire in Gehinom on Shabbat for you. That's what happens. Shomer Shabbat, good for you. We'll turn off the fire on Shabbat. Or HaChaim HaKadosh heard one time that there's a gzerah, there's a decree from Shamayim that HaBa, there's a decree from Shamayim on Am Yisrael. So he went into the galut, he went into exile, place that even though he was Gdol Ador, no one knew him. He arrives at this place where the Rav over there is a holy Rav, it's a holy rabbi, that gets secrets from Shamayim every so often. Gets secrets from Shamayim. So now everyone sees Chaim ben Atar, or Chaim, regular guy, maybe even less. They don't know he's Gdol Ador. Thursday night, the Rav says to the drasha, I had a dream. And in my dream, they told me on this parashat Bechukotai, the first verse, Im Bechukotai Telechu, I got 14 translations of the first verse that were translated by Chaim ben Atar, HaKadosh, HaTzadik, HaGadol, HaYafeh, all these different types of embellishments and compliments that he's giving Or Chaim. Everyone's excited. Yeah, Or Chaim. Yeah, Chaim ben Atar. Wow. You know, back then they respected rabbis. Oh, Baruch Hashem. See, Satan already started. I hope this thing wasn't off for that long. See, you see it live. See it live. The Satan hates my lectures. So he kills the batteries very quickly. It's supposed to last 2 hours. Sometimes it lasts 5 minutes. It's good. It's good news. If the Satan is spending his time on us, that means we're learning something useful. So now, everyone's excited about Or Chaim. And then this old man says, no, he's not a tzaddik, he's not a kadosh, what do you, I know him, he's not really a big deal. Like, oh, how dare you go against the Rav, he's Gdol Ador. The rabbi of the Keilah quiets everyone down, he says, okay, let me give you the pirushim. Ignore this guy. Friday night comes after tefillah, the Rav says, I had another dream. They gave me 14 more translations of the same verse, and now we have 28. The same verse of this parashat Bechukotai, that Or Chaim ben Atar, HaKadosh, HaTzadik, HaGadol, HaMalach, and all these compliments that he's given him. Everybody's excited. Yeah, no more pirushim. Wow. This was 300 years ago, so they were excited about Chidushim. And then this guy in the back again, he goes, stop it with the tzaddik and the kadosh. He's just Chaimke. He's just a Chaim. Everybody gets angry at him. They want to beat him up. Hey, you're going against the Ravs. You're embarrassing the Ravs. Get out of here already. The Rav of the Kehillah says, calm down. Let me give you the Chidushim. Saturday afternoon, after Tefillah, the Rav says, I have a Chidush. I got in Shamayim again. 14 more translations of this Pasuk in Parashat Bechukotai that were given to me from Shamayim that were translated by Or HaChaim. HaKadosh, HaTzadik, HaGadol, and all these compliments. And everyone's excited again and again. This guy says, stop it with this Chaim. How many times do I have to tell you he's not a Kadosh? He's barely even a Talmid. This time, even the Rav couldn't take it. He said, throw him in the cell. In those days they had a jail cell, right in the entrance of the Bekneset. For anyone that went against the rabbis, would be put into this cell right next to the entrance, so everyone can spit on them on the way in and on the way out. For going against the Rav. It's not like today that it's popular to go against the Rav. Back then they respected the rabbis. Rabbis were holy. Someone goes against the rabbi, Shem Menachem. Not if it's a Rasha, a real rabbi. Baruch Hashem, we have many in today's world. There's a few wear costumes that are not, but the point is there's many good ones. Back then they got the respect they deserve. Today, not so much. Today there's fist fights with rabbis sometimes. So anyway, they throw him into the cell. Chaim ben Atal. Gdol Ador is in a cell, all of Shabbat. Right before Havdalah comes up, they want to do Havdalah, all of a sudden the whole world starts shaking. There's thunder, there's lightning. Chazal says that the only reason why Hashem created thunder is to scare us. Only reason. There's no other purpose for it. It's to scare us. Why? Because when you're scared of a thunder, you're like, well, if that's just one of your small things, you have to have a little bit of Yirat Shamayim. Wakes us up. Whole world starts shaking, the ground starts shaking, the lights go in, go out, scary stuff. All of a sudden there's a on the door. Everyone's very scared, they have no idea what's happening here. The Rav says, okay, I'll go open the door. He opens the door and he sees a giant demon. Black angel. Full of fire and all the scary things you could imagine times 1,000. Rav says, what are you doing here? He says, you should be ashamed of yourself. You know who I am? No? I'm the angel that's in charge of turning back the fire on at Gehinom after Shabbat. Because Hashem turns it off on Shabbat in Gehinom for anyone that kept Shabbat. Anyone that didn't keep Shabbat doesn't go off. So the part that goes off, I'm the one that turns it back on after Shabbat. Okay, so what do you want for us? So they told me in Shamayim that I'm not allowed to turn it on until Or HaChaim, Chaim ben Atal, does Havdalah. And you have him in jail. You should be ashamed of yourself. The Rav immediately collapses, runs to Or HaChaim, begs him for forgiveness, crying, hysterical. I didn't know, Kvod Rav. He goes, I know you didn't know. That was the point. You didn't know that Hashem is going to send an angel. But that's Or HaChaim. You should listen to him. They didn't send angels for me. So Or HaChaim says, in regards to Exodus chapter 3, verse 8, Or HaChaim Shmot Per Gimel Pasuk Chet. summarize this whole thing. He says that at the end of times, we're going to be different than the generation of Mitzrayim. In Mitzrayim, we knew that the best of us, the small amount of us that actually survived Mitzrayim, because as we know, at least 80% of Am Yisrael were killed in Mitzrayim in the Makat HaChoshech, the darkness plague. Why? They didn't want to do TeShuva, they didn't want the Torah, they wanted to stay in Mitzrayim. Hashem killed them. There's a midrash in Me'am Lo'ez that says it was much higher than 80%. Instead of 1 out of 5, it was really 1 out of 500,000 that survived. I go into that a little bit more in a different shiur, but to save time, Or HaChaim says that the ones that actually survived were in the 49th level of Tum'ah, the 49th level of impurity. If they would have reached level 50, Hashem would have destroyed the world. One more sin, that's it. But Or HaChaim says the generation before the Mashiach will reach the level 50. And the only way that could save him is Avinu Shebashamayim. So I was thinking to myself, how much worse can we be from idol worshippers? I mean, that's what they did. They were idol worshippers. That's why when they got to Yam Suf, Hashem didn't want to split the ocean. The Malach of Mitzrayim, which his name is Mitzrayim, came to Hashem and says, well, why are you going to split the ocean for these Israelites and kill my nation, the Mitzrayim, the Egyptians? I know the Egyptians, my nation, is worshipping idols, Ovdim Avodah Zarah, but Ele Ovdim Avodah Zarah, ve'ele Ovdim Avodah Zarah. They idol worship, and they idol worship. So why would you kill one over the other? So I'm thinking to myself, why would Hashem save us even if we get to level 50 is one question, but I guess that's his promise to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, so that's good. It's good news. But the bigger question is, how can we get worse than idol worship? Most Jews, Baruch Hashem, don't idol worship. Maybe money, but it's a form of idol worship, but it's not like a, I don't know, maybe. But here's one reason. Baruch Hashem, I had this chidush when I was in Jerusalem about a month ago. Torah in Jerusalem is a different Torah. There was 3 things that Am Yisrael kept. They kept their language, they kept their names, and they kept their clothing. They looked like Israelites. They still spoke Hebrew. They still kept their names of Yaakov and Avraham and Yitzchak and Moshe. You still knew it's an Israelite and not an Arab. And they looked like Jews. They looked like Israelites. They had certain clothing that was different from the Egyptians. So you could notice, this is an Israelite, this is an Egyptian. Idol worshippers, yes, but they kept 3 things. And according to Chazal, that's one of the main reasons of why Hashem saved them. So how will we worse? Think about it. Yaakov, it's not Yaakov anymore most of the time. It's usually Jackie, or Steve, or Matthew. All types of American Goyish names. It's a reality. We live in America. We all have different names. Before going back to my original name, Yaron, in the business world for 16 years, I was known as Ron. I took the first 2 letters out. Why? Because Americans don't know how to say Yaron. They'd make up every other name in the world. At one point, they even said urine. Yeah, this is the bizayon I had to go through in college, in high school. What can you do? Kaparat havonot. But most Jews don't have Jewish names a lot. You know, it's especially if they're not religious. So our generation now is not really keeping the name. Okay, fine, we don't keep the name. Language, the fact that I'm giving you a lecture for the last however long it's been in English already answers that. Most Jews in the world do not speak Hebrew. It's just a reality. Especially Sfat HaKodesh. the holy language. The one they speak in Israel between one another is not exactly the holiest language. They created new words. Some words they actually created dafka, the opposite of the holy language. That's how much the Zionists like religion. But what about clothing? I know they didn't have black and white back then. You're not obligated to be black and white. You could just look like a normal human being. It's fine. But what we're not allowed to do is look like goyim. Meaning, there's a certain type of clothing that's just not allowed for Jews. Both for men and for women. One of the main reasons of why Hashem saved us is not because of the men. We were terrible. It's the women. The women were tzadikot. They kept their modesty. So now when you see, unfortunately, most women, Jews and non-Jews, walk around half naked in the world, they think that the less clothes they have, the more attractive it is. Hashem ilachem. This has already been a problem for a while. It just got much worse. If you just look one generation back, we didn't have as much of a problem. 2 generations ago, the problem didn't exist. I went to a government building to get my daughter a passport a few months ago in Florida, and they had old pictures of Florida, of maybe like the 1930s, of people on the beach. Goyim, not Jews. I don't think anyone was Jewish. Bunch of pictures. Regular people. Hair covered, skirts, the neckline goes up to here, covered up to here. They're more modest than the biggest rabbanit in the world, I think. This was average for goyim, not just Jews. Today, women, it's too hot. It's too hot. That's the answer. So what, they survived it 5,700 years, and now it just became too hot. It wasn't hot in Mitzrayim. It wasn't hot in Egypt, in the desert. So women, we already know we have a problem. Where's the problem with men? This is one of the things that I actually had a chidush also in Israel. I personally have always hated skinny pants on guys. I think it's an awful look. It's not modest, which, by the way, a man is always obligated to be modest himself. But that was as much as I had. I mention it here and there, especially when you see old Israeli guys that are in their 40s and 50s that are fat and, wearing skinny pants. It just drives me crazy how anyone rationalizes this. Most men in general in today's age are overweight. We're not exactly all Brad Pitt. I mean, people are overweight. I'm not skinny. Far from it. It would be kind of odd if you listened to me to a lecture if I was wearing skinny pants. I think you'd focus more on the skinny pants than me. But that was as much as I had. But then in Israel, Siyata Dishmaya, Hashem gave me a chidush. Young guy was bothering me for a few days because I started seeing yeshiva kids. Yeshiva kids wearing it. Okay, the chiloni, the one that's secular, not keeping anything, wearing skinny pants. What does he know? We're lucky he even has clothes on. His girl covered her finger. So, Baruch Hashem, skinny pants is already a machmir. But the religious guy wearing skinny pants, it's a problem. It bothered me. And then one day I see this young kid, probably no older than 20 years old, running in front of me, passes me, and he has tzitziot swinging, and he's got skinny pants on, sweatpants, skinny pant thingy. And then I got it. And I made a picture. You can pass it around, whoever wants to pick it up. But someone else wore skinny pants before. And it wasn't our friends. Nazi Germany. That's who wore skinny pants. Exactly skinny pants. Wide on top, very fitted and skinny and gross on the bottom. So I had a shiur, a lecture in Netanya, the last one I did, and that's when I had this chidush that day. And it was actually the Day of Independence. Yom HaShoah. To mourn the 6 million of us that they killed, Rashaim Merushaim that they were, the Nazis. Killed 6 million of our brothers and sisters. And everyone says, I feel bad. They killed my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my sister, my brother. And I look at the current generation, I said, you feel bad? Yeah, of course we feel bad. I know this one that had his father died and his grandfather died. Yeah. So how come you look just like them? Why do you look just like them? Don't tell me you feel bad and you look just like them. So that's when officially skinny pants, in my mind, and I think it already well before it was in my mind, and any person that knows an ounce of Torah is officially livush goyim. It's officially not allowed. Not because I did an halacha, but just because if you ask any rabbi with a spine, they'll tell you it's not allowed. It's livush goyim. So it's not only not modest, our enemy of just the previous generation wore it. You want to keep wearing it? Be my guest. It's your life. I just think it's wrong in many ways.
But isn't it more of a gay thing than...
Not every guy that wears skinny pants is gay, although it does hurt your private area, and it makes it very difficult for men to actually have children later on. It also creates problems for kids. I actually heard Rabbi Wallerstein say this, that it creates problems for children in middle school because their parents, their genius parents, are giving 7-8-year-old kids skinny pants because they want them to look hip, and the kid ends up peeing in his pants every day because he says so. The teacher asks him, "What? You should raise your hand well before you have to go to the bathroom." He says, "No, I go well before I need to go." He goes, "Okay, so what's the problem? Why do you keep every day something?" He says, "No, it's I can't get the pants off." It's not the kid's fault. It's the moron that he has as parents. They want him to look hip. Destroying the kid from inside his house. Because we want to look like goyim. But that was the third part. That completed the puzzle. How do we get to Sha'ar of Hamishim? How do we get to the third gate? We don't keep our language. We don't keep our names. And now we're not keeping our clothing. Because when our yeshiva boys want to look like goyim, we have ourselves a problem. Mashiach is around the corner, B'ezrat Hashem. So now you have many people complaining about their life. But if they just look at Parashat Noach, they'll understand a few things. When Hashem says you're not allowed to spill blood, He wasn't just referring to murder. After the flood and Hashem destroyed the world, Hashem gave the mitzvot to Noach. In chapter 9, verse 6, it says, Shofech dam ha'adam ba'adam, damo yeshafech, ki b'tzelem Elohim asa ha'adam. Translation, whoever sheds the blood of a man, dam ha'adam, within a man, his blood will be spilled. Because in the image of God, He made man. Dam ha'adam ba'adam, damo yishafech. So, blood of a man, we understand it's blood. But what's the blood of a man within the man? If it was just blood of a man, you would just say blood of a man. Blood of a man within the man, we know it's the tamtzit. It's the syrup. Seed. When he spills blood, his blood will be spilled. This goes all the way back to Noach. Proof Fast forward. Genesis. Parashat Vayeshev, chapter 38. The story was the first story I heard about Torah when I started doing TeShuva from Rabbi Ephraim. The story of Judah and Tamar. One of the areas that we learn about Mashiach, by the way. But originally, Judah and Tamar were not together. Originally, Tamar was married one of Judah's sons. Was his firstborn. Vayi Bechor Yehuda Ra Be'enei Adonai Vayimitehu Adonai. But Judah's first son, was evil in the eye of Hashem, and Hashem caused him to die. Next verse. ויאמר יהודה לאונן בוא אל אשת אחיך ויבם אותם והקם זרע לאחיך וידע אונן כי לא יהיה הזרע והיה אם בא אל אשת אחיו ושיחת ארצה לבלתי נתן זרע לאחיו וירא בעיני אדוני אשר עשה וימת גם אותו. Then Judah said to Onan, consort with your brother's wife. Onan was his second son. Marry your brother's wife because there was no kids. It's actually a mitzvah. And enter into a levirate marriage with her. And establish offspring for your brother. But Onan knew that the seed would not be his. Meaning that the son would not be his. He considered his brothers. So whenever he would consort with his brother's wife, he would let it go to waste on the ground, aka bathroom, so as not to provide offspring for his brother. What he did was evil in the eyes of Hashem, and he caused him to die also. Chazal says that appreciated the beauty of Tamar so much that he didn't want to ruin her beauty by having her get pregnant. He says, no, so for you I'm just going to keep you pretty, but I'm just going to be with you. So you waste seed outside of her body. I don't want to have kids, like today's generation. No, I only have one kid already. It's enough. We can't afford a second kid. Hashem ran out of money. No, we have 2 kids and we got a dog. We can't. Maybe we're considering a cat also. Kid? No, we can't afford a kid with the yeshiva prices today. Huh?
A nuclear family.
No. So wasted seed. As Hashem told Noach, not allowed to waste seed. In that generation, it wasn't too difficult to know that Hashem existed. Hashem killed him. Onan didn't want to have kids with Tamar because it wouldn't be considered his kid. He says, what do I do it for? I want to keep her pretty also. She's a very beautiful woman. I don't want to ruin her body. I want it to look like she's 20 forever. Okay. Enjoy. Hashem killed him also. This is also a source of why Goyim are also not allowed to waste seed. Because at this point we don't have Judaism. Noach, 12 tribes, they're not considered Jewish. They're Bnei Noach. Judaism was born in Mount Sinai. So here we have ourselves some Torah sources of why wasting seed is a problem. But what else does Chazal say? As we mentioned before, each time someone makes a sin, they create a demon. Chazal says, human fluids especially provide substance for demonic forces. It is for this reason that many satanic rituals require semen or blood. Most people that are crazy enough to worship the Satan, usually they have to spill blood or semen for it. Why? Because those things, this spilling seed creates them. Now, you also tend to see that people that waste seed have a tough time learning. Here's a source. Part of the seminal fluid comes from the brain. This is sent down the spine. When a person spills seed, he is wasting away part of his brain. This lowers the function of the brain, especially memory. You can learn the Gemara 8,000 times, you're still not going to remember it. Just like Rav Avraham Stern said, the more seed you use, the softer your body becomes. And some of his patients, the zva, the disgusting nature that they got to, after wasting seed in some cases for only 6 months, doing it 4 or 5 times a day for 6 months, literally made them, yeah, I know it's crazy, but to a teenager it doesn't seem like a crazy thing. Doing it a few times a day for 6 months doesn't seem like a long time. The person completely became crippled, eventually being found on the floor with blood coming out of every hole of his body. In another case, a person that was wasting seed for about 2 years, only twice a day, for about 2 years, according to a different doctor, this is not even Dr. Stern, it's just in that book, Dr. Zimmerman, said that he came to him completely in pain, suffering, unknown pain. The doctor understood that this is from wasting seed. He forced him to stop and he watched him he overseed him. He healed after several months. Got strong again. Young 18-year-old boy. Went back to it. 6 months later he was dead. His brain dried up. The cases get worse and worse. In many cases, the people were much crippled and had different types of disgusting fluids coming out of their body. In some cases, even lost control of their own seed, where even if they wanted to stop, they couldn't. It just comes out. This is scientific, not religious yet. A person's emotions are thrown totally out of balance. People who are pogem HaBRIT often have a hard time controlling their temper. They're also subject of sadness and depression and lose their self-confidence. Anyone that wasted seed, this is like looking in the mirror. People who are pogem HaBRIT are also always tired and need more sleep. More often than not, they have bad body odor and breath. They also, according to the Rambam, they bald prematurely. Their hair growth starts in strange places, and their body becomes very weak. Where when you were 18 years old, strong, you're supposed to be able to lift a building. The guy can barely make it to the store. Someone who's a pogem HaBRIT loses almost all of his ability to perceive kedusha. One also loses his desire to study Torah and do mitzvot. If you still have a desire to do mitzvot, it means it's Baruch Hashem. Hashem has a lot of mercy on you, but you have to stop immediately. The souls brought down through the person's sins are also considered his kids. After a person dies, these souls come to take revenge against their father, causing him many problems. In addition, they also come after his physical children to try to harm them. This is the reason why when someone dies, they're not allowed, the children are not allowed in Jerusalem, they're not allowed to go to the funeral. Because if he ever wasted seed, those demons that he created could actually kill his children on the spot. There's actually an halakha against it. In the Torah, Likutei 1 Torah 23. One who has rectified his brit. It is impossible for him to fall into the desire of money. If you do tshuva for become a brit, you have a promise from Shemaim you won't fall for money. Meaning that you'll be able, even if you have a lot of money, you'll be able to control yourself. It's a very big upside. Because money, as I can tell you from my own personal story, very big test. It's a very, very big test.